us see the reality of man. Let us see how great man really is. In a few verses of the Quran, the Almighty Allah sums up the reality of man in 3 stages. The beginning, the middle, and the end. The first stage of man was pre-existence. In this stage, you and I, we were not even worthy of mention. We didn't even exist. What could be so low than this, than not even being there? And this was the reality of man. And then when Allah created us, and we came into existence, He created us from the cheapest, the lowest, and the most insignificant thing there could be. The very mitti, the very earth that we trample upon. This is the thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us from. And then He created us from a liquid, a drop of fluid, a filthy drop of liquid. Such a liquid that when it is discharged, it is compulsory upon every human being to take a bath, wash his mouth, wash his nose, and every inch of his body. This is the reality of man. And this is what we were created from. And the reason Allah did this was so that we never forget who we are, what we are, and where we came from. And then He changed this liquid, this fluid, into a clot of blood. And then He changed this clot of blood into a lump of flesh. This is the time when we existed. And even in this stage, look at the despicable condition that we were in. We could not see. We could not hear. We could not smell. We could not touch. We could not feel. We could not think. We couldn't grasp. We knew nothing. Allah gave us, in reality, He gave us death before He gave us life. He gave us weakness before He gave us strength. He gave us ignorance before He gave us knowledge. He gave us deafness before He gave us hearing. He gave us blindness before He gave us sight. This was our first stage. And this is what the Quran refers to. It doesn't mankind seek how we created him from a dirty drop of fluid. The second stage. This is the stage when the Almighty Allah gave this human everything. And the reason Allah gave us all this was so that we recognize greatness surely belongs to the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But even in this stage where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us everything, in reality we had nothing. And His ending, the Quran says, what remains of man when man is no more? When he's dead. This is the reality of man. This is his beginning, this is his middle, and this is his end. When this is our reality, the reality of our Creator, and this is our reality, and we know this, then where has all of a sudden this I feeling come from? The me, myself feeling, the it syndrome, the galore, the pride, the arrogance, the shame, the show, the fame, the splendor, the glory, the full of it syndrome. When this is our reality, where's bigness all of a sudden come from? The very illness that shaitan suffered from. You're too right, I'm going to bow down before him. Oh Allah, you're telling me to bow down before him? When you created him from clay and you created me from fire, you know fire is far greater than mitti. Something that is high doesn't bow down before something that's low. Too right, I'm going to bow down before him. One little mistake, and you know who Iblis was. And you know, prior to where he went wrong, what he did for the Almighty Allah, and how he served from the Almighty Allah. One little mistake, from one of the biggest, he became the lowest of all. Let me give you an example of Namrud. This guy was a proper big timer. This guy rule the entire world. Let me just relate an incident here, how much Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took care of this Namrud. And what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did for him. The great Allama Rumi relates in his Mathnawi, on one occasion Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked Sayyidina Israel alayhi salam, O Israel, did you ever really feel saddened at taking out somebody's soul? He replied by Allah, yes. It so happened on one occasion that there was this ship sailing. You told me to break it. I broke it into pieces. And then you told me to take out everybody's soul. I took out everybody's soul. You told me to take out everybody's soul except this woman and her child. I took out everybody's soul except for this woman and her child. And they clung onto some piece of wood. And with difficulty, the wind blew them to the shore. And I was so happy that they had made it to the other side and they had survived. After this, when they got to the other side and all the difficulty they went through, you told me to take the mother's soul, leaving the child. And I did as you told me, and I took out the mother's soul, leaving the child alone. Oh Allah, you know at that time how saddened I was. And to this day, the thought of that incident saddens me. After this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to Sayyidina Israel, now let me tell you about this child, and what I did for this child, and how I took care of his upbringing, and how I looked after the child. The child was on the shore. The waves came, and I told the waves, and I ordered the waves to throw this child in a jungle full of fruit trees and springs of sweet water. The waves did this. I ordered the wind to be moderate with him. I ordered the clouds never to pour rain down on him. I ordered the sun not to directly pass over him. I ordered the lightning to stay away. This is how I took care of his upbringing. And the child grew by day. As he grew, I then ordered the jinns to teach him how to speak. And I ordered the jinns to teach him how to rule. And I kept on showering him with my countless blessings, till this child was no longer in need. O Israel, do you know how this child repaid me? This is the very Namrud that when he was told to bow down before the Almighty Allah, he claimed, I am your Lord Most High. He is the one that objected on Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam and asked Ibrahim, who is your Lord? And Sayyidina Ibrahim replied, as the Quran says, that my Lord is the one who gives life, and my Lord is the one who gives death. The fool turned round. Okay, I also give life and I also give death. So what he did was, he took a free man and he ordered the executioner to behead him. And then there was a man with regards to whom the sentence of death had been passed. He ordered the executioner to behead him, and he was beheaded. He said, look, I've given life and I've given death. Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, okay. And he went for the kill, knowing that this guy is a proper fool. Allah brings the sun from the east, you bring it from the west. And his lips were sealed. He's ruling the entire world, and yet he was such a fool that he took some eagles when they were young, and he fed them with meat till they became nice and big and fat. And then he took some rope and he tied it to their feet. And he took a box and he tied it to this box. And then he put some guy inside this. And he says, go and see if you can see the Lord of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. And it doesn't come to an end. Allah sent an angel to tell him to bring Iman. He said, too right, I'm going to bring Iman. Why don't you just tell your Lord that we'll settle the score here and now? Go on, tell him to bring his boys. Sayyidina Jibreel said, okay, we'll play that game. Can you imagine the guy who ruled the whole world? Can you imagine the size of his army? You want to play that game? The armies of Allah, Allah chose the weakest of his armies. Mosquitoes. And Allah ordered these mosquitoes that you will eat from their flesh. They're animals and these people, but you will not touch him. And these mosquitoes came, short period of time, and all that remained from his armies and his animals were bones and nothing else. And this guy still not learned his lesson. Says, told you so, they can't touch me. Look, still alive. And he went home and went to sleep. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered one little mosquito. Okay, go on, bite one of his lips. Just give him a little sting. He won't even feel it, just give him a little sting. And it bit him. And it became red and green and blue. And he's now running to all these doctors. And he's tried every medicine that he can get his hands on. And there is no cure. And the doctors advise, there's no cure to this, you'll have to cut it. And he cuts his lip. Then Allah orders the very same mosquito now bite his upper lip. Small little thing comes to this big time and bites his upper lip. Again, he cuts it. Allah orders the very same mosquito now go bite his nose. Comes and bites his nose, the same story. No cure, you'll have to cut your nose. And he cuts his nose. Allah orders the same mosquito enter and sit on his brain inside his head. And eat from his brain every day a little. It enters and it begins to eat his brain. In the narration, in the historical narration, it says, the most generous and merciful and kind to him was the one that would crack his head as much as he could. Because when they cracked his head, he felt a bit ease. Rules the entire world. And can you imagine this disgrace? And he's getting people to crack his head. And this is what the hadith of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam says. And whoever thinks he's the man, this is the way Allah brings him down and disgraces him. Rules over the entire world, and this is the way Namrud came tumbling down.
The worldly people who only want to enjoy themselves, who are only concerned about taste and touch and feel and smell and have and possess, those people who think they have the world in their hands, they will tell you that life is only for enjoyment, so enjoy all that you can. Is this our purpose?
This life is about attaining purpose. And purpose is found when you live not only to better yourself, but to better the things around you. And so Islam is about submitting yourself to the will of Allah, to the will of God, so that you can prepare yourself for eternal joy. And in doing so, you don't deny yourself the pleasures of this world. But at the same time, every single moment they spend in this world, whether it's for their own enjoyment or they're working hard, should mean something more than just that fleeting moment. These things will come and they will go, but what will not go is my relationship with my Creator. Something far superior and far more powerful. So Islam is really at the core of it, asking you and me to find true purpose in our lives. And that purpose will be to find the one who made us, and then see how he wants us to live our lives. And in doing so, a lot of people think if they find purpose in God and purpose in revelation, that they're going to deprive themselves of things that otherwise they could have enjoyed. There were no restrictions on them before, and now all of a sudden there are these rules and regulations that are holding themselves back from living life to the fullest. And the opposite is true. As a matter of fact, when one submits to God's will, and one accepts the revelation and the burden that it lifts. Actually, the Quran talks about how the advice that God gives, if you were to abide by it, He would relieve burdens off of you. Life would become so much easier. so much more relaxed. You would find so much more peace and so much more harmony, not only within yourself, but also with the relationships all around you. So the purpose of life in Islam is to find peace within ourselves and peace with our Creator by becoming true servants and really sincere servants to the one who made us.